Hi Michelle, here are some extra tips on sacred love which arise from what we said when I was with you, and also a little bit which fill in the gap between what I sent and in terms of the book and what you already have. So, the Christ within us. The important thing is to find the Christ within you and to do it not just once, but again and again and again and again. Because what we tend to do as human beings is that once we've found the Christ, we then get distracted by all kinds of things. And these do not necessarily mean that they are sinful activities, but simply life can get in the way. And we forget the Christ, and we need to find the Christ again, and we need to make a habit out of finding the Christ a little bit as if we were to try and create a new instinct. And when the time comes that you are in contact with your future partner, you need to approach your partner as though she was the bearer of Christ too. This means that every person is the bearer of Christ, but it is only potentially. We are supposed to help them to awaken to the Christ. And as I have said in my other video, we need to help them to become whatever religion, form of Christians that they are. In other words, Christianity that began as a religion is more than any individual religion, and eventually everybody is destined to become Christians, so that we have Hindu Christians who see the Christ as Vishvakaman, Muslim Christians who see Christ as the Mahdi, Jewish Christians who see Christ as the Messiah, and Taoist Christians, and every religion on the planet, including agnostics who are, I don't know, but they're still Christians because they have come across the reality of Christ, and atheist Christians who are Christians because they recognize the Christ as a living being, as an entity, but who do not feel that they are drawn to any religion. In fact, I know a couple of people like this already in Trieste. Very interesting cases. They have direct contact with Christ. They are in many ways very moral in the way they behave, but they just don't accept any religion. Anyway, to help to find Christ, spiritual union is not demanded. In other words, to find Christ in anybody other than your partner, you don't need to do that spiritual union. You need to keep that direct union as the special relationship between you and your partner. The thing is obvious to me that what we really need to emphasize is self-giving. Christ died on the cross, and the cross is known to be the ultimate worst form of physical torture ever devised by man at any time. And he went through the ultimate amount of pain for us. So the question is, can't we live for him? So we should give our love to all around us, and that does not just mean all human beings as bearers of the Christ within them potentially, but also it means everything that lives. All the animals should receive our love. In other words, are not just pets, but they become transformed. When they become pets, they stop being wild dogs, for example, and become beasts like Kiki, or as we have in my case in Trieste, a pet pigeon, and not just animals. We should love all plants that exist. Everything in life should be loved, including the things that we do and the things that we are and the things that we study, because in everything Christ or God is there. But we need to awaken ourselves and all other human beings to Christ within. We can and should help each other to do this, but we must be aware that our activity is very limited. The real actor, the person who really acts, is Christ. Now, words of destiny. When words that have the power of destiny are spoken through Christ, either in us or to us, they have a special resonance. They kind of echo through space and time and go deep down into the heart. I have experienced this, for example, when I swore to love Kathy eternally, when we were married in church and I said I do, and also when she said that she did not marry me so that I could become a priest. I could feel the power of those words coming across and determining my destiny in this case. We do this, if we are able to do it consciously, by accompanying our words of destiny with a powerful impulse of free will, in self-giving, like we do when we make a solemn oath. And that is why it is important that we think very carefully first about what we want, about what we do, before we engage ourselves in this kind of powerful word that changes destiny. It is because these expressions have power and we have words of power that we really need to be careful what we do. And so we need to make a commitment to help each other to achieve our agreed goals. Agreed because it is best to discuss with our partner what our goals are, rather than say, for example, I want Manchester United to win this football match. I mean, that is just waste of time. Or I want a new handbag from Prada or whatever. We need to be aware that the goal that we need to work for is something that will involve work and persistence, and it has to be worthwhile, such as redeeming our own sinful nature, helping somebody who is sick, helping somebody who is despairing, helping somebody to find the Christ. And what I wanted to say also had to do with the deepest union. The living lifeblood of Christ is the Holy Grail. The myth goes that Joseph of Arimathea collected some of the blood as it flowed down the cross into the chalice of the Last Supper, and that is the Holy Grail. But that holy vessel actually was paraded in the Germanic myths of the Grail as something which fed everybody at the Grail Knights banquet. The Grail Castle being only accessible to be visited by those who are found worthy by the Spirit. And communion with Christ is how it feeds us. As I think I mentioned in the other video for your friend, when we get into a position of real communion with nature, this is something which works like a communion with Christ for us. And it feeds us, not through our mouths, but direct to the heart. This is something that has to be experienced to be believed. And that can happen via concentration, via, as I say, communion with nature in pure perception, and also in communion with the beloved, in which case it is the most powerful form of communion with the beloved. And that spiritual nourishment is a true medicine for the soul and spirit, because it heals all evils, both those that we have done and those that have been done to us. But Christ is the one who chooses who we get into contact with and who we can heal through him. We do not choose. All we can do is humbly ask Christ to act through us and do everything we can to make ourselves into effective tools for Christ. And that is what I have to say. Thank you so much for your time. God bless.